And our top story, the battle over bilingual education. Do students take too long to learn English? And is there a better way?
Now, Margie Reedy, Chet Curtis. This is NewsNight on NECN.
In Massachusetts, it's the law. Wherever there are at least 20 students who speak the same non-English native language, they must be offered transitional bilingual education. 3 years of instruction in their native tongue before they graduate into the English mainstream. Some 45,000 students take part in transitional bilingual education. But is there a better way? Should English immersion be the rule instead? Today, both sides brought the battle to the Massachusetts State House. NECN's Colleen Harry has more.
Look at the students from the Amigo School in Cambridge, and you'll see something most schools strive for: diversity.
What kind of programs there are for kids who don't speak English, who are new to the country, is a very, very important question.
Our focus is on 4 different areas.
At the Massachusetts State House, Amigo School students and others joined a public hearing on the future of bilingual education. Currently in the Bay State, non-English speaking children can spend up to 3 years studying in their native languages before moving into an English language classroom.
The longer children stay in native language passrooms, the harder it becomes for them to learn English.
Lincoln Tamayo wants to repeal the Massachusetts bilingual education laws. A former high school principal, he says if immigrant children want to succeed, they need to be enrolled in one classroom and taught English and other subjects in English for 1 year, then join regular classrooms.
These students, the vast majority of whom are Hispanic, are stuck for years in linguistic ghettos that none of us should abide.
We support the legislative efforts to improve current bilingual law, making it more accountable, more flexible.
People like Roger Rice, on the other hand, believe the strict 1-year program is too much, like a one-size-fits-all that doesn't give parents a say.
And I'm here today to speak in favor of the governor's bill to reform bilingual education.
The Swift administration is floating a bill that would give local districts control over the curriculum in bilingual education programs. And the chairs of the legislature's education committee also have their own bill. With so much talk of change, students may soon see a different bilingual program. At the Massachusetts State House, Colleen Harry, NECN.
One man has led campaigns for English immersion in several states. Tonight, Californian Ron Unz is here to advocate for English immersion in Massachusetts. He's chairman of the group English for the Children. We're also joined by an advocate for transitional bilingual education. Tim Duncan is a parent of a child in a bilingual program, and he's with the group Leave No Child Behind. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Ron, you're opposed to the law in Massachusetts which advocates or mandates 3 years of bilingual education. What's wrong with making it more flexible to 1 year, 2, or maybe 3?
Well, I think the problem is either bilingual education works or doesn't work. There's overwhelming evidence that transitional bilingual education has failed almost everywhere in the United States on a large scale in 30 years. Here in Massachusetts, for example, the students many times are not in these native language programs for only 3 years. Sometimes it's 4, 5, 6 years. I think the best way for a child to learn English is if they're taught English, and that's what our initiative would do.
Tim, you want to keep things as they are, or do you advocate for a more flexible approach?
I think the most important thing is that kids learn English, and we all agree on that. And I think what we need to do is find the most effective way to do that.
And what is that
in my opinion, the most effective way to do that is to find the most effective way for a given child and community. And contrary to what Mr. Unz is asserting here, we've been very successful here in Massachusetts in many cases doing that. If you'd like to come see the school where my son goes to school, I think you see it's an extremely effective program for a wide group of kids in learning 2 languages. And I think it's not just some sort of anachronistic way of learning in the past. I think it's the way of learning in the future, where kids get a wide variety of exposures.
How long has your son been in bilingual education?
3 years.
And is he ready to go into the mainstream English classroom?
My son is blonde hair, blue eyes, and has been bilingual since he's been about 3 years old.
Well, what's the argument? Why is it so difficult?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, many of
There's
these
nothing wrong with that. I don't understand why you're trying to shut my son's school down, I guess would be the question.
If I can finish. Certainly these bilingual programs, including dual language programs like I think the one in reference, there's a lot of evidence that they actually help English-speaking students learn another language like Spanish quite well. And I'm sure your son is doing quite well in the program. The point is, those programs, and especially the transitional bilingual programs, which are 98% of the programs, seem to have a huge record of failure in helping immigrant students, non-English speaking students, learn English. So in other words, the problem is the English speaking students often learn another language. It's the non-English speaking students who have a hard time learning English. Furthermore, I'd like to
it's
say...
just not the case. I'm not sure what you're talking about, because if you come and you look in Cambridge and you look how kids are doing there, both the English kids, the non-English speakers are doing equally well.
But Tim, your situation is quite different. I mean, your son was not speaking a language other than English when he went to school. Is that correct?
No, he was speaking both languages when he went to school.
Okay, but so he's
But
in a,
the
he's
school,
in a
the
dual
school
language.
includes kids that didn't speak Spanish before they went there, includes kids that didn't speak English before they went there. They put them together, and they're both very successful in educating each other. And I think, again, the point is here, we're very fortunate to live in a place where they tax our arms off to have a great school system. And I'm well aware that that's not the case all over Massachusetts. And I think what's important is that we address all the kids' needs. And I think what's important is that all kids learn to speak English in the best way possible.
Would you agree that some kids could learn to do that in 1 year of total immersion?
Absolutely. I think that can be the best case for some kids. I think the kind of program we have is the best thing for some kids. I think what it all gets down to is choice and not imposing a one-size-fits-all solution, particularly a one-size-fits-all that's failed miserably in California. We have a 95% failure rate in Mr. Unz's program. He's smiling now, but anybody can go on the State Board of Education site in California. We're here to teach kids English. And I'm sorry, I may be exaggerating, 93% of the kids...
I think the figures are completely mixed up.
Well, but let me finish, then I want to...
In the last tests that were administered in California, there was over a 90% failure rate of kids in Mr. Unz's program transitioning to normal English classes. Now, I don't know where he went to school, but 10 out of 100 is an NF as far as I'm concerned. We've done much better than that in Massachusetts. We can continue to do much better than that, particularly with some of the reform bills that are being offered in the legislature today.
All right. Ron, what about the results? Now, there is some controversy about just how well that program now is doing in California.
Oh, on that point, I think there had been controversy. Anybody right now can look at the State Department of Education website or our website. It turns out when our initiative was on the ballot, very few people would defend the existing bilingual programs in California. They admitted that those programs have problems. They said our initiative would be far worse. It would be a disaster. Test scores would plummet. Instead, the test scores of over 1 million immigrant students in California have gone up by about 60% in less than 3 years.
What test scores are those? We're talking about learning to speak English. I think that's
let
what's
him finish
important.
that, Tim, and then we'll get back.
He's making up statistics here, and I think he's the guy that sells his program on teaching English.
We'll try to clarify that.
Let's talk about learning English here.
Okay, let's try to clarify that.
Can I explain? When you're looking at it, for example, the test scores of Latino students, and we're talking about the standardized STAR test scores, which are the
California
Stanford
9 test
that are given to all the students.
No, why don't we talk
California.
about learning English? Isn't that what we're here for?
Can I finish?
Well, Tim, let him finish, and then we'll get back.
Well, because I think we have a point here, and I'm sorry.
But when he finishes
We'd like to talk
it,
about learning English,
No,
I think,
that's okay, but...
Yeah. The point is, this is the standard test given to all the students in California, used by the state for all of its analytical purposes. That test shows that the average test scores of over 1 million immigrant students have gone up by about 50 or 60% in less than 3 years. That includes those districts that kept their bilingual programs. When you look at those districts that completely followed the initiative and got rid of their bilingual programs, they've doubled their test scores. Furthermore, the data now breaks out the test scores of those immigrant students who stayed in the bilingual programs versus those immigrant students who were not in bilingual education, who were in the English-oriented programs. It turns out the students not in bilingual education are 3 times as likely to be reading, for example, at or above grade level in the 2nd grade. In every grade level, every subject, every year, the students not in bilingual education do better than those in bilingual, and it's persuaded a lot of our critics.